What I'm about to tell you still keeps me up at night. My wife started doing something 2 months ago. Something that seemed harmless at first, but it quickly became the most terrifying experience of my life. And the worst part? I think whatever took her has followed me. This is my story. My wife Len and I have been together 6 years, married for 11 months. Our relationship has always been normal. She's kind, intelligent, thoughtful. Len is the no-nonsense type of person. She doesn't like pranks. She doesn't even watch horror movies. When we first started dating, she tried watching The Shining with me. She was so scared, we had to turn it off halfway through. Being creepy or childish, that's just not her. So when she started peeking at me from around corners, I knew something was very, very wrong. It started 2 months ago. I was in the kitchen making coffee before work, running late. No time for my usual Dunkin' Donuts run. As I hurried down the hall with my coffee, I noticed her. Len was peeking at me from around a corner. I could only see her eyes and a strand of her long dark hair hanging against the wall. The rest of her body was hidden. I nearly spilled my coffee. I did burn my lips. "Geez, Len," I said. "You scared me." She immediately popped out of view, like a little kid who had been caught. I heard her scurry off toward the living room. By the time I reached the front door, she was gone. It was weird, totally out of character. But I also found it kind of funny. Maybe she was just being playful for once. I shouted that I loved her, called her a weirdo. As I shut the door, I heard her laughing. I forgot about it by lunch.
3 days later, things got disturbing. It was around 2 a.m. I woke up to get a drink. I was standing at the kitchen island, orange juice in hand, when I felt it. That strong feeling that someone was watching me. For some reason, I looked down at the floor. And there she was. Len's face, staring up at me from the other side of the island. She was on the floor, grinning. Wide, unblinking eyes, grinning like the Cheshire Cat. I screamed, not out of annoyance, but pure fear. At the sound of my scream, Len scuttled backwards out of view, her hands and feet smacking the tile floor as she crawled away on all fours, like an animal. I didn't run after her. I couldn't move. I just stood there, frozen in shock. When I finally went back upstairs, Len was lying in bed, asleep, or at least pretending to be. I stood there watching her breathing, making sure she was really asleep. The next morning, I asked her about it. She frowned, shook her head, like she had no idea what I was talking about. Then she burst out laughing. "You creep me out all the time," she teased, "so I guess we're even." We said goodbye and left for work. But as I drove, I couldn't stop thinking about it. The sound of her hands on the floor. That grin. Something wasn't right. I started seeing her peeking at me everywhere. From behind the couch, behind the living room curtains, Once, she was inside her grandmother's old trunk. The trunk sits at the foot of our bed. The lid was propped up just enough so only half her face peeked through. She was grinning, like an excited toddler. "Why are you doing this?" I finally asked. She didn't answer. She just slowly closed the lid, shutting herself inside the trunk. I walked away, disturbed. For the next 2 weeks, nothing. No peeking, no weird behavior. I thought she was done. One night we were watching Netflix. I joked that I hadn't seen her peeking lately. She looked up at me with a small smile. Maybe I've just gotten better at it. Those words haunted me. Was she still watching? When I wasn't looking, I started checking corners, behind doors. I felt paranoid, crazy. After a few weeks without incident, I began to relax. That's when things got so much worse.
A few days ago, Lynn left to visit a friend. I stayed home, played some games on my laptop. Around 9 p.m., I hopped in the shower. As I was washing the soap from my hair, that feeling came over me again. I was being watched. I slowly opened my eyes, and I almost had a heart attack. Lynn was peeking from behind the shower curtain. Her entire head stretched into the shower, her body still outside. Her long dark hair hung against the curtain, dripping with water. Her mouth hung open in a terrible grin, eyes wide and red, like she hadn't blinked in hours. Makeup running down her cheeks in black streaks. She looked deranged. I screamed. We stood like that for what felt like forever, neither of us saying a word. Finally, she slowly pulled her head back out. I watched her blurry figure through the curtain, moving backwards toward the bathroom door. Then the door slammed shut, hard enough to rattle the mirror. I jumped out of the shower and locked the door. I stayed in that bathroom for over an hour. "Lynn," I finally shouted, "this is getting really annoying." I waited for a response. Instead, I heard a faint moan, so quiet I wondered if I heard it at all. Then complete silence. "Lynn?" I called out. Nothing. "Just stop it," I yelled, pounding the door. Still nothing. I got down on my knees and looked under the bathroom door. No one there. I could see straight down the hallway to the stairs, but no Lynn. I stood up, my hand hovering over the doorknob. I was about to open it when I heard it. A moan, louder than before, coming from the closet. I turned my head slowly and locked eyes with my wife. She was peeking out from the gap in the closet door. Her eyes were still wide, her mouth hanging open in that grotesque smile. Her hands were clasped to her chest, body trembling with delight. She let out a short, raspy moan, deep and raw. I yanked the bathroom door open and ran, down the stairs, grabbed my keys and phone, out the front door to my car. I could hear her shrill laughter behind me, but I didn't stop. I drove straight to my brother's house, 40 minutes away, still in just my boxers, hair still damp, no shoes, no coat, just pure terror. My brother Chris and his wife Rebecca let me stay without asking too many questions. I told them Lynn and I had a fight, but I didn't tell them the truth. How could I? That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Lynn's face in that closet, knowing she'd been in there the entire time. She never left the bathroom. She slammed the door to trick me. The thought made my skin crawl. The next morning, I woke up just as the sun rose. I was staring at the ceiling when that familiar feeling came over me. I was being watched. My eyes drifted toward the window beside the couch, and there she was, Lynn's face pressed against the glass, staring down at me with that same gaping smile, drool dribbling down her lips, leaving 2 long streaks down the window. "Lynn," I shouted, pounding the glass. "What is wrong with you? Go home." She didn't move. Her smile only grew wider. I heard Chris and Rebecca coming downstairs. Lynn's head twitched in their direction, and she slowly closed her mouth. By the time Chris reached me, she was gone. The only proof? 2 streaks of drool on the glass. Chris and Rebecca thought I'd dreamed it, but I knew better. I stayed another night at Chris's house. The next day, Rebecca told me something that made my blood run cold. "Lynn stopped by this morning," she said casually. My heart sank. "She came here?" "Yeah, just after Chris left for work. She asked if you were awake. I said no. She told me to let you sleep." Rebecca paused. She looked awful, though, like she hadn't slept in days. I felt sick. I knew I had to go home, face her, help her if I could. I drove back that afternoon. Her car was in the driveway. Everything looked normal. "Lynn?" I called as I entered. "We need to talk." No response. I checked every room. Empty. Until I reached the bathroom. The door was closed. I opened it slowly. Lynn was sitting in the empty bathtub, fully clothed, staring at the wall. Her makeup smeared, hair tangled. She didn't move when I entered. "Lynn?" Slowly, her head turned toward me, and she smiled. That same grotesque smile.
"I've gotten so much better at it," she whispered.
"I've gotten so much better at it," she whispered. Her voice was hoarse, raw. "You never even noticed me watching you sleep. Every single night, for weeks." My blood ran cold. I was in the closet, under the bed, behind the shower curtain. I've been everywhere, Ben. Everywhere. "Why?" I asked. "Why are you doing this?" Her smile grew impossibly wider. "Because," she whispered, "I wanted to see if you'd notice. When I stopped being me." My heart stopped. "What?" "I've been gone for 2 months, Ben. Since that first morning in the kitchen. You never even realized." She tilted her head at an unnatural angle, her neck cracking. "The real Lynn is still in here somewhere, screaming, watching. But she can't get out. And neither can you." She started laughing. That horrible, shrill laugh. I ran. I didn't stop running. Down the stairs, out the door, into my car. I drove until I was 3 states away. That was 2 weeks ago. I'm staying in a motel now. I've changed my number, deleted all my social media. I don't know what that thing was. Pretending to be my wife. I don't know if the real Lynn is still alive. But last night, something happened. I woke up to use the bathroom. As I walked back to bed, I saw it in the mirror. A face, peeking at me from behind the motel curtain, grinning. I didn't turn around. I just got in my car and started driving again. Because whatever took my wife, I think it followed me. And I think it's still watching. If you ever notice someone watching you, someone who shouldn't be there, don't ignore it. Because by the time you realize something's wrong, it might already be too late. If you made it this far, thank you for listening to my story. If you've experienced something similar, leave a comment below. And if you enjoyed this, subscribe for more true horror stories. Because trust me, the scariest stories are the ones that are real. Stay safe out there.